Let's make some focaccia bread with 100% freshly milled wheat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel we talk all about real whole grains from a biblical perspective. So one of the main requests that I get is definitely more recipe videos, and this is going to be one of them. This recipe is actually part of our Make Bread 365 challenge, which is more of a challenge going on Instagram. And for the month of February, the bread is focaccia. And so that's what we're going to be making today. The wonderful thing about focaccia bread is actually not difficult at all to make. You're actually going to be seeing it where I'm not even kneading it. I'm not needing a mixer, nothing like that. So for those of you who don't have the fancy mixers or wanting more of a no-knead bread, this is really great for y'all. And I'm going to be showing y'all how I love focaccia bread the most, but feel free to add your own toppings, your own flavors. This is truly a very versatile recipe. So let's get started. All right, first off, we're going to proof our yeast. So we're going to grab 1.5 cups of warm water, 1 teaspoon of honey or sugar, and then 2¼ teaspoons of instant yeast. And then we're going to stir this all together, and we're going to let it sit here for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes until it's nice and foamy. Even though I'm using instant yeast and technically don't have to do this, I do prefer to do this because it does give that yeast a bit of an oomph, and I also make sure that the yeast is still good. And while that is proofing, let's talk about our yeast. I prefer a combination of hard white wheat and soft white wheat. So you're going to grab yourself 2 cups of hard white wheat berries and 1/2 cup of soft white wheat berries, and you're just going to throw both of these into your mill, mix them up to get the amount of flour that we need. Now we have our yeast that's all nice and foamy. This is looking great. And now let's start mixing the dough together. So this is the flour that I've already milled. I just milled them all together. So grab you a large bowl and then measure out 3 3/4 cups of this flour mixture. And you can see I don't have much flour left over. And then you're going to grab 1½ teaspoons of salt, and then we're going to mix it. This is a Danish dough hook. I'll link it below for you guys. It just makes it easier. And then we're going to add all of our yeast mixture into this as well. And then we just start mixing this up. This is going to be a sticky dough. That is what we're going for. And it's going to be a bit on the stiff side as well. That is normal also. Once we get it all together, we're going to grab 1 tablespoon of olive oil and dump that into the bread. And then I actually like to put it on my hands a little bit and then start mixing this dough a bit further by hand to make sure all of that olive oil is nice and incorporated. And as you can see, the dough does stick together, but it's definitely not a super crazy soft dough yet. So I just like to kind of shape it here into a circle. We're going to put it back into the bowl, and any olive oil I have left over, I kind of take that, rub it on my hands, kind of coat it a little bit as well, just to give it a little bit of extra moisture. And then we're going to leave it in the bowl, cover it with a plastic wrap, and then I like to cover it with a little towel over that as well. And we're going to let it rest for 30 minutes. And here it is after resting 30 minutes. It has risen, as you can see, kind of almost double, but remove the plastic wrap, and now we're going to start with our stretch and fold. And so you're just going to take it from one side, pull it gently, fold over. Another side, pull it gently, fold over. Another side, pull it up gently and fold over, and then one more time, pull it up gently and fold it over. So you do this 4 times with the stretching. And then we're going to place the plastic wrap back onto the bowl with a towel over it and let it rest another 30 minutes. And we're going to do this multiple times. So I like to keep a sticky note here to keep track of how many times I have done a stretch and fold. 30 minutes is up, and we're going to do our second stretch and fold. So same technique as before. Each time you do this, you should be noticing the dough getting a bit softer. That's what we're going for. It's developing that gluten content, but without actual kneading. So it is taking a bit longer. So plastic wrap back on, towel back on, mark it on your sticky note, and 30 minutes again. So it's been our final 30 minutes, and now we're going to do our final stretch and fold. But instead of letting it rest in the bowl again, you will see that after we do our final stretch and fold here, that we're then going to shape it and put it into our pan to do its final rise to bake. So once we have that, we're going to grab a 9x13 pan. Ideally, you want it to be non-stick. Mine is not. So we're going to add a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Because mine is not a true non-stick pan, I'm actually adding a little bit more than that to coat the sides of the pan. And then you take your dough and you're going to just lather it in to that olive oil. And then we're going to slowly start stretching it out to the shape of the pan. Now, if your dough is breaking at this point, stop what you're doing and cover it up. Wait for about another 10 to 15 minutes to let the dough rest and then resume this process. But by now it should be soft enough where it's going to stretch out nicely into the 9x13 pan. And then once we get it done here, you can see it again, it's thoroughly coated with olive oil. We're then just going to let it do its final rise, which for me can be anywhere from 45 to 50 minutes. So you do want to make sure that it's basically doubling in size. And you just cover it back up with saran wrap again and a towel and let it rise in a nice warm spot. Now is an excellent time to answer a question that I receive, and that is, Felicia, where do you get all of your grains? Where's your favorite place to shop for grains? Where can you buy a grain mill, the Bosch Universal Mixer, the Anarska Mixer, all of these things pertaining to milling your grains? So glad you asked, because my favorite place to shop is definitely Pleasant Hill Grain. And the reason why is not only are they the cleanest grains that I have ever received, but they literally have everything that we need, especially for those who are wanting to get started and just want to shop at one place without giving business to the big box companies like Amazon and Walmart. Pleasant Hill Grain is a family-owned company. Wonderful, wonderful customer service, and everything is shipped to your house. Just go to grainsandgrit.com/PHG. And thank you very much, Pleasant Hill Grain, for being a sponsor to Grains and Grit. You know we love you. While that's rising, I like to mix up my topping. So we have 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of water, 2 cloves of garlic, minced or more if you like, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we just mix all this together and set it aside until we need it. Now the dough has risen twice in size, and now to give it that typical dimpled focaccia look. And so we're going to gently use your fingers and make these little dimples in the bread. Do not go all the way down to the bottom of the dough. I find that flattens it a bit. But once you have your dimples, you're then going to take that topping mixture and pour it all over the top. Try to get it as even as possible. And then I like to add a little bit more salt to this. And on top of the salt, I like to just sprinkle on some rosemary as well. Of course, this can be fresh as well. And now it's time to bake in a 450-degree oven for about 20 to 22 minutes. And here it is. You can tell because the crust is a bit crusty. And then you do immediately want to get it onto a cooling rack. And then as you can see, it is a flat bread, but it is absolutely delicious. And here we are going to slice it up. So I've got it on my little cutting board here. Using a bread knife, it's just very easy to slice off. Of course, you can just cut it as well and enjoy it, but there it is on the inside. This is absolutely delicious, a wonderful garlic bread. Here's a bit close up as well. Ideally, you want to go for more holes, but this is pretty good. There you have it. Easy peasy. Let me know in the comments below what are your favorite toppings and flavors when it comes to focaccia bread. This is an excellent Italian type bread to be served with spaghetti, pasta of your choice, lasagna, whatever it is. It is just something that is just delightful and, different than your typical yeast bread loaves. As always, I hope this was helpful. Be sure to shop with Pleasant Hill Grain, grainsandgrit.com/PHG, and follow along with our Make Bread 365 challenge on Instagram. You can find me there at Grains and Grit. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.